go to the icon in the bottom of your screen that says interpretation. Click on it and select English.
Okay,
Amorino mio, ti invio un vocale perché tra poco inizia a interpretare. È un paese carino che si trova vicino a Latina. In effetti
Welcome. Please
c'era
note that
l'agriturismo
we
più
have
elegante, più
interpreting
bello. Cioè, non
today.
so
There is
chiamarlo
the
una guest house.
interpretation. You
Bellissimo,
can
davvero.
click on the globe
Cucineremo
and
anche lì.
select the language in
E
which you
perché
would like
Salmonetta non
to
aveva trovato una
follow
guest
this
house altrettanto
session.
bella.
Vi chiedo di scegliere la vostra lingua andando all'icono interpretazione. Fate clic lì e scegliete l'icono della lingua italiano. Et pour les personnes qui parlent français, c'est un peu difficile pour expliquer, mais je prouve. Vous pouvez choisir votre langue à l'icône interprétation et vous pouvez choisir le français ici. Si vous êtes en un smartphone ou tablette, vous pouvez choisir l'interprétation et cliquer. Si vous cliquez en cliquant les trois doigts, et vous pouvez choisir aussi l'icône interprétation et aussi la langue française. Si siete en una...
Hola Marta.
Si siete in un cellulare o una tablet, vi chiedo, non sapete come...
If you're using a tablet or a by phone, you can click on the three dots, you click on them, and there you will see the interpretation part, and you choose your language. So if you're using
eligen el icono interpretación y eligen el idioma en el que quieren escuchar. For the people who are in smartphones or tablets, and if you don't know how to get interpretation, you can click in the three dots and click the icon interpretation, and then you can get also the language that you want to hear. Okay, so I think we are ready. Just 1 second. I just want to be sure if Sister Julie Peters is here. Yes, she's here. So great. I give the floor to Sister Mama Lifer. You have to unmute yourself.
Bom dia, Moema. Paz e bem, filha. Deus que abençoe sempre, viu? Então, né, não deu para eu participar.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this second webinar
of the series about the green economy.
Lui già dice che è innamorato follemente, però insomma, non so.
Just 1 second because we cannot hear her.
To your mouse, the microphone.
I have a problem with this when I put it. It's a bit... Huh? Hello? Hello?
Perfect, Mama Lifa, perfect. It's perfect.
Okay, good. You show the screen.
Yes, you have to do it again.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome all of you to this second webinar of the series about green energy, green economy, and energy transition. This is our last webinar of the year. I am Sister Mama Lifar Margaret Poroku, a missionary sister of Our Lady of Africa, Executive Secretary of JPIC Commission, USG and UISG, with Father Roy Thomas. I am also the coordinator of Sowing Hope for the Planet. The Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation Commission, USG and UISG, is a collaborative initiative representing the International Union of Superiors General for both female and male congregations. Our mission is to transform the world in the spirit of the gospel through conscious prayer and sacred action, promoting justice, peace, and care for the integrity of creation. The Commission has been working to actively provide resources and initial formation on JPIC, while fostering dialogue and solidarity among religious congregations. Our goal is to amplify the voices of the poor and oppressed by supporting on-the-ground advocacy and networking efforts. Since 2011, our Integrity of Creation Working Group has focused on understanding the complexities of mining and extractivism, engaging in activities to advocate for local communities. Through partnership with organizations like the Dicastery for the Promotion of Integral Human Development, UN NGO, mining working groups, Vivat International, Franciscan International, Churches and Mining, we have organized webinars, events, and petitions. We've actively engaged with voices on the ground, formulating strategies to address critical mining issues and expand global networks. During the Amazon Synod, we presented the outcomes of the JPIC and mining seminar and organized a session on the impact of mining from the perspective of Laudato Si. In 2023, for the second consecutive year, we welcomed the caravan from Latin America, amplifying the voices of individuals affected by mining in Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, Argentina, and Guatemala. To help religious take concrete actions for integral ecology, the Superior General of UISG launched their environmental campaign, Sowing Hope for the Planet, by acclamation in May 2018 plenary. In February 2021, the USG Executive Council expressed its support. Sowing Hope for the Planet helps coordinate the efforts of the religious sector of the Laudato Si Action Platform by promoting and engaging religious in journeying towards integral ecology and accompanying them to develop Laudato Si global plans that integrate values of nonviolence in creation. It promotes the efforts of men and women religious throughout the world to make them aware of one another's needs, to determine and affirm our responses to social concerns. It is in this context that we find the mining webinar important to create awareness of the capitalistic drive behind the push for energy transition, which is not a real solution for the climate crisis. The aim is to help you take action to ensure that the minerals and fossil fuels stay in the ground and not be extracted for profit at the expense of the poor and creation. In September 2023, we had our first webinar of the series titled Let Justice and Peace Flow, the Challenges of Energy Transition and Mining, as a preparation for the thematic social forum on mining and extractivism held in Indonesia. During the first webinar, we entered in the wounds of mining that many territories in the world are facing due to the so-called clean energy and how to raise awareness about the situation. In October, the thematic social forum brought many testimonies of the plight of communities at the front lines of mining and extractivism and their courage to fight for their rights, their land, and livelihoods. Continuing our journey, we organized a follow-up webinar titled Unpacking the Illusion of the Green Economy in the Energy Transition. This aims to explore the undesirable consequences of the ongoing energy transition, especially the rising mining activities associated with the green economy. The extraction of minerals for solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries for cars is causing significant social and environmental impacts. We want to challenge the simplistic view of the climate crisis as a mere substitution of energy sources, emphasizing the need for climate justice, transformative lifestyle changes, and a new economic paradigms. By this webinar, we are inviting all religious congregations and the church as a whole to engage in collaboration and networking so that together we can stop this extractive mining plan by those who want to take advantage of the climate crisis to enrich themselves at the expense of the poor and nature. We want to join Pope Francis in Laudato Deum that invites people to overcome the technocratic paradigm in which the earth is an object of exploitation, unlimited and unbridled. We need to unite to stop the injustice of the green colonization in the name of energy transition. Each small action contributes to the transformation we desire because it is the little drops that make the ocean. As Pope Francis notes in Laudato Deum number 71, efforts by households to reduce pollution and waste and to consume with prudence are creating a new culture. The mere fact that personal, family, and community habits are changing is contributing to the greater concern about unfulfilled responsibilities of the political sectors and indignation at the lack of interest shown by the powerful. Let us realize then that even though this does not immediately produce a notable effect from the quantitative standpoint, we are helping to bring about large processes of transformation rising from deep within society. With these introductory remarks, let's look together the agenda for today. We have already have the introductory remarks, and then this will be followed by the opening prayer that will be done by Sister Julie. And then we have the introduction to the context of energy transition and mining by Brother Rodrigo. And then we will have the main speakers who will be looking at the political and economic vision of the energy transition, struggles of the sacrifice zones, which will be the C part. We will have the judge part, which will be a reflection on Laudato Si, Laudato Deum, and eco-spirituality, dialogue from different cosmovisions. We will introduce them, and then the act part, which are the responses. No solutions, but actions can be taken. Active political narrative. Because the issue is that we cannot seek responses. We want solutions. We want actions that can bring this about. And then there will be reactions from participants and dialogue. And then we'll have the conclusion, which will be done by Father Roy, and the reaction part by Catalina. So, as I said, Sister Julie will be leading us in our opening prayer, and she's from the congregation of the Sisters of the Sorrowful Mother, a Third Order of St. Francis of Assisi. She's from Grenada in the Caribbean, currently serves in Rome as the Assistant Superior of her congregation and as JPIC coordinator and promoter. She holds an MS in marriage and family therapy and has taught for 6 years counseling psychology, psychology for ministry, human development, pastoral counseling skills. She has conducted workshops, training seminars, and facilitated counseling, psychology, psycho-spiritual topics. She contemplates with her camera and uses her photography for an divine contemplative program. So, Sister Julie, welcome and thank you for leading us in prayer.
Sister Julie, you have to unmute yourself, please.
Sorry. Would you share the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So let us just relax. It's a busy season for all of us, and intentionally put ourselves in a space to welcome God, to welcome each other, to welcome even ourselves in a conscious way. So take a nice deep breath and be here, be present. Be present to yourself. Let us be present to each other online. Be present to our world, especially our world where there is lots of suffering, brokenness, woundedness. And I invite us to pray with the oldest prayer in the church, Maranatha. Come, Lord Jesus. Come, Lord, be with all who struggle to make a living. Maranatha, come, Lord, and give drink to the thirsty. Maranatha, come, Lord, convert us, impel us to respond to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. Maranatha, come, Lord, teach us to be respectful to all creation. Maranatha, come, Lord, and be with those who live in terror, fear, and hunger. Maranatha, come, Lord, be with the homeless and refugees who are fleeing from harm. I invite us just to pray slowly. After our Christmas trees have been taken down, and our gift wrapping papers have been recycled. Lord, give us the humility to see Emmanuel, God with us, in the eyes of the poor, in the woundedness of our planet, and in those who plunder our economy. Emmanuel, teach us and stay with us. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Sister Julie, for such an inspiring prayer. And
Welcome.
may this prayer really touch our hearts and move us to action to make this world a better place for all creation. And now I would like to introduce Brother Rodrigo, who will be giving us his remarks. Brother Rodrigo is from Brazil, an OFM brother, advisor to the Special Commission on Integral Ecology and Mining of the Conference of Bishops of Brazil, a civil engineer, member of the Churches and Mining Network. He's also a member of the Executive Committee of the Inter-Franciscan Service of Peace and Ecology of the Conference of the Franciscans in Brazil. Since 1983, he's working with land conflicts in the Pastoral Land Commission. And since 2012, he has been working with the communities affected by mining and conflicts. So, Brother Rodrigo, welcome to share with us your remarks.
After the second thematic social forum on mining and extractive economy, I can see that there are many people here that participated and contributed for the success of this process. It was held in October 17 to 20 in Semarang, and it drew 336 participants with a notable 51% female representation from 53 countries worldwide. The participants spanned diverse backgrounds, including movements, unions, faith-based groups, indigenous peoples, and civil society organizations. The regional breakdown revealed a truly global engagement. This is the numbers that the Indonesian working group, logistic working group gave us. Indonesia leading at 44%, followed by Asian Pacific region 25%, Europe 11%, Africa 10%, Latin America 8%, and North America 1%. So the TSF program focused on the pivotal themes, exploring discussions on the right to say no and the connections between transitions, energy transitions, and minerals in relation to climate justice. The program included plenaries, workshops, and open spaces, fostering dynamic and interactive discussions. Key takeaways highlighted the inherent link between extractivism and capitalism, emphasizing the prevalence of violence against resistors and the profound impact of transition minerals on climate and communities. In this webinar, we will be unpacking or trying to unpack the illusions of green economy in the energy transition. The ongoing energy transition ostensibly aligned with the principles of a green economy faces inherent limits and presents false solutions, particularly in the context of sustaining current unsustainable growth and consumption partners. One critical issue lies in the intensified mining activities promoted by the transition. The extraction and processing of minerals essential for manufacturing solar panels, wind turbines, batteries, and to spread the energy are already causing significant social and environmental consequences. This contradicts the environmentally conscious goals of the transition, revealing the inherent contradiction between the pursuit of green energy and its actual environment impact. Focusing solely on substituting energy sources without addressing the root causes of the climate crisis represents a false solution. Climate justice necessitates a profound shift in lifestyles and a transformative approach to our economic system. Merely replacing fossil fuels with renewable alternatives doesn't address the broader ecological and social challenges at play. Moreover, the colonialist perspective embedded in the green economy exacerbate historical inequalities. Strategies outlined in the climate agreement, such as COPs, SDGs, hold existing colonial structures, obstructing genuine change. The concept of green economy is commonly portrayed, suggested a departure from fossil fuels dependence while maintaining interrupted economic growth. This optimistic narrative implies that economic expansion can be connected to green, with green economy acting as a catalyst for further growth. However, reconciling climate protection and nature with perpetual economic growth, expansion of corporate power over territories, and within the constraints of a finite and inherent unequal world remains an illusion. In turn, the term green economy, with its positive narrative connotations, fosters the belief that the existing global paradigm can persist with slight adjustments for greater efficiency and reduced resources consumption. In reality, true sustainability requires re-evaluating of our economic model, re-evaluate the capitalist system, challenging the notion that perpetual growth is not challenging the notion that perpetual growth is compatible with environmental and social well-being. The ongoing energy transition must evolve beyond the simplistic substitution of technologies, of energy sources, and grapple with the fundamental shifts need for genuinely sustainable and just future, recognizing and dismantling the colonial structures that perpetuate inequities. So now we are going to invite our speakers to lead us in this reflection from the perspective of see, judge, and act. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo. Father Roy, I don't know if you are there.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Rodrigo, for your opening remarks and put us into perspective on the theme unpacking the illusions of the green economy in the energy transition. Now, I would like to welcome and introduce our speakers, before which I would like to share with you the method that we use in JPIC Roma for imparting knowledge, that is mainly see, judge, and act. Is the method of seeing, which means observation of what is happening around us. Judge, which means analyzing the situation, critical analysis, and also act, which means action plans, what we can do to carry forward what we have discussed. So the three Speakers will be focusing on these three methods of see, judge, and act. And in the first phase, we have the first speaker, Raman Balkasar. He is a member of the Tanti Las Femil organization. Currently, he is a PhD researcher on green lithium extractivism in the Puna de Atacama, holds a master's in international studies with a specialization in sustainable agricultural development. He is also a specialist in alternative and solidarity economies, agroecology, extractivism, and socio-ecological transition. He collaborates permanently with community actors, territorial organizations, NGOs, and national and foreign universities. He is a member and coordinator of the Plurinational Observatory of Andean Salt Flats, OPSAL. He is a regional point for Latin America of the network Yes to Life, No to Mining. So we have an experienced speaker with us, a resource person, to share his views with us. So hearty welcome to Raman Balkazar.
Thank you. Creo que voy a hablar en español, ¿no?
I will talk in Spanish if I can.
Italiano.
Is that okay?
Vou confirmar.
We can ask the people who need the translation to go to the interpretation link and hear the translation in that language. Per le persone che hanno bisogno di sentire la
For
traduzione,
those who need to listen to the translation should click on the icon of interpretation. You can simply click on the language.
interpretación y escucharla en su idioma. Et pour les personnes qui ont besoin de l'interprétation, vous pouvez choisir l'icône interprétation et écouter en français.
Ok, muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind invitation. Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you for reaching out. We met during the forum. I met so many of you. For example, I see Sister Rose. I am in Chile. Sorry, my connection is not very good. At the moment, I work in the intersection of the so-called green mining and social environmental hurdles in the region of Alabacama. Atacama is a very rich region, and unfortunately is a region in which we are struggling a lot due to climate change. As Rodrigo said, it is quite common today. I will focus on Chile, on lithium, through my presentation. I will try and explain the role of Chile in this transition. What are the implications in Atacama? And without providing too many details, which are too specific maybe, I will talk about the national lithium strategy in Chile. To wrap up, I will point out the way in which we are promoting initiatives for the protection of ecosystems and people for a social ecological transition beyond extractivism. So, without further ado, I would like to go through the lithium triangle, the quantity of assets and resources that we have in Chile. We have several mines in Chile. As you can see, there are a lot of reserves, and all the exportation of lithium from Chile are from Salar of Atacama. It is a crucial point that we are using for the exportation of lithium from Chile. You can see that Chile has a very important role in global terms, and it is not easy for our ecosystem. We provide a fourth of the global demand of lithium, and lithium is quite complicated for us because it relates to extractivism. It is a mineral that we extract, and this entails a few hurdles. We have a situation of dependence in Chile as for extractivism and the model of mining. There are cycles or super cycles of prices and quantity. These generate a lack of stability. This generates a lack of stability in our economy. In our country, we depend from the variation of prices on a global scale, and lithium is a mineral that we find in territories in which there are indigenous people. In this presentation, I would like to share a few sources. You can see the link at the bottom of the page. It is quite interesting to probe into these articles that try and understand the problem of climate change in different areas of the world. We know that climate change and mining are related. They go hand in hand in many areas. And this connection between climate change, mining, has very critical social consequences. The problem of transition is not only related to mining. We have also the issue of energy projects. And in this sense, I would like to share a few bullet points related to climate change, mining, and in particular, I would like to mention also the problem of green energies in Atacama, in the coast, as you can see from the picture. Actually, this is a picture I took a year ago. Here, as you can see, we have some boats, and at the port, we know that we transfer copper concentrate from the main mining companies in the country. It is an area in which we struggle due to the so-called dirty energies. We are trying to widen the port, the area of the harbor, for us to leverage green energies, but the plants which are there and which relates mainly to copper extraction
are still there. And it is not easy to change these plants. We know that copper is a mineral which is crucial for the energy transition. These kind of operations, as we stressed in the previous slide, can allow us to export lithium from Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina. And we should understand that this kind of operation has an impact in environmental terms in the whole region. Here you can see whales that are suffering due to collisions with the boats. Part of the problem relates to the need for water. On one hand, I'm not sure if you are familiar with the geography of Chile. The map, I tried to show it, but we have mountains, we have sea, and due to the fact that we need mining, and since we need mining, we need water, we know that at the moment it is not easy for the mining sector because there is a water risk, a risk of water shortage. And here you can see a few figures relating to the regions of Chile. The desert of Atacama covers the region of Tarapacá, Arica, Antofagasta, and Atacama in Chile. This is the desert of Atacama, and here you can see the concentration of the plants of desalination. 77% of desalination plants are in Salafacá, the region in which we can see the port that was in the previous picture. Figures are quite clear in this sense. There is a very crucial contamination in the area. And there are energy projects which are at stake. Projects to try and mitigate the risk of water shortage in the mining industry. We have problems of water shortage relating to problems with our plants. It is quite common in the region. And there are cities in which sometimes it is very hard to provide water to people because we need water for mining. This is the reality of our territory. What is the problem? As Rodrigo mentioned, there is a problem that is called colonialism. The problem of the climate crisis is very complicated to solve. There are a few false solutions that people try to leverage during the main summits. There are a few lobbies that try to convince people that false solutions are the good solutions. Here you can see a few pictures that are quite emblematic in that sense. There is a green colonialism of the great powers throughout the world in which companies create mechanisms to clean their image these kind of mechanisms are promoted by the European Union. Think about the European law on critical raw material and mining standards. These laws are actually at the service of green colonialism, and we are very aware of it. We stressed here that for us to protect our environment, it is crucial to think about these patterns and understand what is responsible mining in our world. This is very important because we know that there are divisions in organizations on the global scenario. There are schemes which were created by mining and by the mining sector. The mining sector is trying to promote these schemes, these mechanisms that are actually bad for the planet. We have the Borix National Lithium Strategy in Chile. Here you can find a few examples. They claim to be responsible companies, but we know that all these companies have processes in Chile which do not protect the environment and the communities. So the problem here, it is not about the mechanisms in general terms, it is about the way in which companies leverage mechanisms for their own good. They usually use these mechanisms for greenwashing, and it is important to stress it. I will share in the chat a few links. We sent a communication explaining what are the real solutions to these kind of problems. In Chile, we try to follow the directives of the global organizations, and we try to understand how we can have a mining which doesn't entail a damage for the environment. On that note, we have a strategy for lithium in Chile in which we try to use desalination to support strategies that can promote better care for our environment. We are a group in Argentina which declare that desalination is not bad if we think about salaries as mining. We are making a mistake. And it is important to think that in these areas, in, for example, del Conde, we have indigenous populations that we shall protect. Part of my work has been promoting and drafting a publication that I can share with you later on, in which we talk about social territorial transformations. And we also talk about the protection of salt flats and wetlands in the context of growing international demand. In Chile, we know that we can set an example for the organizations which try to work on a broader scale in the global north, in which there is a concentration of the demand of these of the minerals of this sort. One of the most important bullet points in this sense relates to the role of recycling. When we started, we had a lot of talks about recycling, but we know that it is not easy to provide cycles of recycling which are truly sustainable for the planet. I think that it is very important to change our ways of being in society, in which we can see that there is an overconsumption of lithium and other materials. In particular, I refer to the United States. So, if we do not change this way of living in the global north, I believe that things will be very complicated. We should try and address the key bullet points of our capitalist systems to promote a better conversation with better models of development. We need to create a model of development based on a different way of using and leveraging our areas and our territories. We do not want extractivism anymore. And it is important to think about what is going on in Palestine at the moment. We know that colonization is very present in our history. It is something that we can find in the news every day, and we should talk about it. And our answers should be found in the dialogue, in the international dialogue. We should try and engage with different populations. In particular, I think it is important to recall the role of indigenous populations, and we as an organization, we promote formation relating to the problem of lithium in Chile, in Argentina, in Bolivia. We try to explain these problems and we show the complexity in social and financial terms of these issues. It is important to stress that we can change our vision of our territories. Sometimes we think about a mineral and we immediately think about a country, think about cobalt and Niger, but this kind of mindset should change. We should remember that this kind of mindset relates to the interest of the main powers in the world, and it is important to shed some light on these bullet points. We create an alliance in our territory in which we try to talk about mining and life. We want to defend life and pave the way ahead in a better way. It is important to participate in this process. We shall journey together and we should put at the center something that is different from corporate interests. We should put life at the center. we should put nature at the center. I do not want to speak at length, so I think that I will put a pin in it. I will send a few documents in the chat so that you can go through the declaration of the certifications on mining, and I will also share the declaration that we drafted during the forum to support Palestine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raman Balkasar, for your wonderful sharing of experience, your work with people in Chile, especially among the people in Atacama. You spoke about the problem of climate change and mining, and how mining is destructing the life and the ecology of people and the nature in Chile, and how water is being used, and then how the issue of shortage of water that you have because of mining. And you also spoke about the lobbies that are trying to convince people according to their wishes. And you also explained about the strategy that you undertake in order to tackle this problem. That is taking into consideration the indigenous people and preparing people and protecting the rights of indigenous people. And you also focused and stressed on the issue that we don't want extractivism anymore. And what you propose is a change of mindset, and we need to defend the life of people, and we need to journey together, networking and collaborating with one another. And you stressed upon saying that at the end, life and nature should be at the center of our life. Thank you so much for your inspiring sharing. And we move on to the next speaker, that is Moema Miranda. Moema is a member of Secular Franciscan Order, OFS. She is an advisor to the Special Episcopal Pastoral Commission for Integral Ecology and Mining. She is also part of the coordination of the Churches and Mining Network, and participates in the Inter-Franciscan Service for Justice, Peace, and Ecology. She works as an advisor to the Pan-Amazonian Ecclesial Network, REPAM, having participated as an auditor in the Synod for the Amazon. So we are happy, Moema, for being with us, and we would like to hear you and would like to be inspired on the theme of today. A hearty welcome to Moema Miranda.
Gracias, Padre Roy. Gracias a ustedes todas y a
Thank
ustedes.
you very much. Thank you. It is a true pleasure to share this effort, which is very important in religious life throughout the world. We know that religious life here in Latin America is a source of inspiration, of strength, and lucidity. I will talk now after the very interesting speech of Ramon. I will talk about different perspectives. I will try to contribute with elements to discern with a perspective rooted in Christianism. In the words of Pope Francis, we have a little time. I do not have a PowerPoint. I will try just to talk and ponder issues together. I would like to stress 3 bullet points in this perspective of transition. First of all, as we know, Pope Francis is not the first pope to address climate change. Laudato Si respected the previous experience of the church in global terms. previous popes and other important bishops' conferences tried to address this issue, but Pope Francis is a very important figure in the history of the Church. He managed to open a new perspective to understand the centrality of issues relating to climate change with a new paradigm, with a new way to find solutions in the world. We know that today it is quite clear that climate change is something concrete. Think about the droughts, floods, and other problems that we are living with our bodies, with our hearts, with our eyes throughout the world. We are experiencing a deep change in the planet, and starting from there are solutions that we shall try to provide, but it is also important to understand that some of these solutions that we can see on a global level are false solutions. We shall understand this transformation in the macro space that Pope Francis foresees. Starting from Laudato Si, and during his pontificate, Pope Francis addressed key bullet points for a radical change, a change from the roots, from the deep. Because we know that Pope Francis adopts a systemic perspective to understand what we are going through in the world. And cutting to the chase, we are not only talking about a crisis, we are talking about a reality which is struggling. Pope Francis manages to overcome a dualistic model in which there is humankind and nature. It is important to remember that quite often we talk about nature as something that it is outside, as if humankind is an exception. But it is not the case. We know that we as humans are part of nature. This is the key element of the reading of Pope Francis, and it is quite clear. It is important to understand that nature, our body, they are all about mechanisms. Nature is about a complex mechanisms. It is not something separated. Everything is connected. Descartes said that bodies of animals are connected. When we hear a cry from a cat, from a dog, we know that that cry is not only a mechanical cry, it is connected to the world. And this idea of connection is crucial for us to understand this scenario in which we live. As Ramon said, it is important to understand the roots of this effort to dominate nature. We believe that humankind is exceptional and nature shall serve what is human. There is quite a secularization of religious reading, which had very important consequences in terms of power throughout the world. Pope Francis, with Laudato Si, started to change this paradigm. It is important to try and have an holistic vision of the world. We know that our Earth is a superorganism which is alive. It is alive and everything is connected. It is all connected. and every part is crucial. We are not a sum of isolated parts. We are all connected. We are connections. And it is important to remember that we live together in the world. In the world, there are thousands of insects, of beings, and all together, we as humankind are integrated in this world which is alive. In this world, there are the saints, there are the angels, and it is important to stress this process that we are trying to navigate, in which everything is connected. Laudato Si is a heartwarming and inspiring project in which we are seen as creators. Our planet is unique, and there are new roots, old roots, systems which started in the past and systems that will start in the future. There is life which creates life, and we as human beings shall try and navigate this process. Science is quite aware of the intelligence of the plants. Vegetables are quite smart. We know that everything is connected. We couldn't live without the trees and our body as well. We need vegetables. Everybody is full with different beings. And thanks to these systems, we can absorb the life on the planet. We can provide life to the planet. It is a cycle, and it is a cycle which started in the past with our ancestors, which are still part of this infinite planet full of life. We try to navigate a process in which we want to fight against a system that is technocratic, that is based on the logics of power, that is animated by the desire of accumulation of the capitalism. It is a system based on the market. It is the devil which is trying to navigate us till suicide is a planet. It is a logic that is not based in life, it is based in death. It is crucial for us to understand that we are part of a global system, and this global system is a system that is based on a key element. We know that capitalism, colonialism are the fruit of monarchy, of the past monarchy of our society. We as Christians shall understand what are the roots of these problems and change our narratives. This is what we are trying to do at the grassroots as Pope Francis, in this contrast in which there is death, in which there is life, in which there is capitalism, in which there is love. Among all these tensions, there are victims and there are those who suffer. We as a church, we shall try to navigate this process in a better way. And as for my second bullet point, I would like to stress that victims are those who are self-organized and proclaimed the liberalization. The indigenous people in Brazil, in Africa, the populations at the grassroots, those who do not benefit from the capitalism, from the accumulation based in the capitalism, those populations which feel that they are population at the grassroots shall be recognized. We know that our earth is mother and sister, and it is the earth that rules us. We shall try and navigate this process of life. When populations are self-organized, when they go through a process of self-defense, they can teach a new path that we can navigate. We can try and roll out a new path, a new journey in which we shall be co-responsible in place. It is important to stress that when we talk about single humankind, we are not talking about a humankind in which the European mindset is the model to follow. In paragraph 72, we find very interesting words in Laudato Si', journeying in communion with responsibility. Pope Francis would like to stress that the style of living in Western society is not responsible and had a very negative impact in the planet. On that note, it is important to tackle that the global north imposed a model which is not positive. This is colonialism, and we shall try and understand that we need different guidelines. Sometimes those countries, Moena, I'm very sorry. Please try to talk slowly for the translation. I'm very sorry. I know I'm running a lot. I'm sorry. But I'm almost done. So, just a couple of bullet points before I wrap up. First of all, it is important to remember that this model of conversion of nature into something that is not sacred anymore, into death, is a model which we can define violent and imperial. Violence is part of this model, a model that now is taking us to death as a planet. And we shall try to remember that there are different ways of acting. Pope Francis would like to stress the importance of a deep conversion for us to be, as a church, close to the victims that are not only human victims. To do that, we shall enter into a different experience. We shall probe into the religious experience of belonging to the world. In Laudate Deum, Pope Francis invites us to a reconciliation with the world. We are not that young anymore, and we remember that in the past there was a religious trend to think about humans, Western humans, as the dominant ones. Today, we are called by the Pope to find a reconciliation with the world. We shall feel at home in the world. The world is giving life to us. The earth is our mother, and we shall remember that in this world we shall generate life and not death. When we defend our own populations, we can actually follow the footsteps of Jesus. This is very important, and we should understand that it is a way in which we can understand the will of God. Please keep up the good work because you are the source of hope for the whole planet. We as a church, we want to go to the peripheries and we want to promote this trend which is downward. It is a multilateralism, a so-called multilateralism in which countries shall cooperate, in which people shall cooperate. And I'd like to draw your attention on this cooperation. If we do not cooperate, we are doomed to die. And it is important to remember that extraction, mining are related to a system that benefit only a part of the population of the world. This politics based in death is justified by the lobbies of the power. This is a vicious cycle that we should try to address to improve our society and our world. Pope Francis stresses that this model is a model that we shall refuse and we should shine a light on a different perspective, a perspective of communion, a perspective in which we shall share the bread with all human beings. Today, we shall do it together with animals, together with the environment. We shall remember that we are part of a cycle. We are part of the planet. We are all together and we shall find new links, new connections, new bonds. We shall find new companions in mission. And this project, this model shall serve as a springboard to shape things for the future. We shall stress the importance of diversity to try and understand the voice of the Spirit, which talks to us through the earth. We are the earth. We are our planet. And this compromise with the continuity of life, with the comprehension of a new religious perspective, with a way of thinking connected to our identity on a deeper level. This is what should be at the basis of our experience with God. We shall ignite the fire of God on earth and we shall follow our criteria of discernment. We shall help the victims. We shall announce a different world which is possible, a world in which we can live with other beings, human beings and not human beings. As John explained in the Apocalypse, Maranatha, Jesus, you are the master of peace. Please inspire us to action, to non-violence, and please accompany us in a path towards a better future. Thank you very much. Peace and good.
Thank you, Mana, for your wonderful sharing, especially based on the method of judge. You have analyzed the whole situation and put us into perspective how we as religious our role in this whole context. You rightly spoke about Pope Francis, beginning with Pope Francis and the climate change. Though many have spoken about climate change, you said Pope Francis have really made a substantial impact in the lives of the church, life of everybody, through his encyclical Laudato Si. And he also said it is important to understand the nature, the complexity of reality, and you number of times, time and again, you stress the importance of this point that we are all connected. We are not single. We are human beings, the animals, the nature. All of us are connected and interconnected, and therefore we need to stand together. We need to have an analytical outlook towards the nature, and we are all connected. And you stressed on the importance of Laudato Si, and the planet that we are living is very unique, and we give life, and also as well as we receive life from this planet. So therefore, we are interconnected. There are also victims and people who are sufferers, and we need to stand by them. You also spoke about stressed on the different models that the global north is imposing upon the global south, and the violence that is being propagated through these models, and we need to stand against it. And you concluded saying that you are the hope, and we all of us are the hope, the source of hope for this world, the whole planet, and we need to stand together with Pope when he said about the new paradigm, the new shift, a new perspective of communion with everyone, the human beings, the animals, and the nature. So we shall find new connections and links, and we find new companions, and let us work together. That is the importance that you stressed upon. That it is our planet, and we are the planet, and we need to stand together. We need to work together. We need to hold our hands together. Thank you so much for this inspiring sharing. And we pause for 2 minutes. We give some little time for the translators to rest, and then we'll continue the third speaker. Meanwhile, the participants can think of any questions, doubts, clarifications that you want to ask to the resource persons. You can put in the chat box. So we'll collect the questions, and then Catalina will later on coordinate question answer session. So welcome back. And we have the third and the last speaker, that is Marta Ines Romero from Pax Christi. He is the General Secretary of Pax Christi International and General Coordinator for Latin America and the Caribbean for the same organization. She studied conflict transformation and was a member of the Catholic Peace Building Network. She contributed for the transformation of Catholic teaching through promoting a culture of peace, nonviolence, and reconciliation, and by her participation in synodal processes and the Laudato Si Action platform. Her previous experience is in the aid sector, where she held international roles at Oxfam, Great Britain, and CRS. So, hearty welcome to Marta Ines Romero.
Muchas gracias, Padre Roy. Voy a hacer
Thank
mi
you very much. I will give a short presentation in Spanish. I will talk about the idea of acting. It is important for us to go through the section of acting, because if we want to act, if we want to have a real impact, we shall act in collective terms, inspired by faith and interreligious dialogue. We shall take into account also the beliefs of our ancestors. It is important to stress that we are all together and we try to advocate for our planet. I will start my presentation remembering that in this process as Pax Christi International, we have been working starting from four dimensions of change. The personal dimension, as Moema said, it is express the connection with God, a God which is not above, it is a God present in among us, among human beings. The interrelation dimension, our interconnection as human beings, the importance of acting as a collective body, and then the structural dimension for us to have an impact on social policies, on those main bullet points that we shall address on a political level, and then the spiritual dimension, the accompaniment of the communities that take care of the creation of culture, of rituals. Marta, please slow down to help the translation, of course. So when we talk about action, we talk about the fact that there are different levels about different, we are referring to different spheres. The broader level is the sphere of interest, what matters to us, the surviving of human beings with dignity and the existence of a correlation ad intra and ad extra. At the end of the day, we're talking about a sphere of control. And this is why it is very important for us to stress the topic of political incidency with networks of faith, ad intra and ad extra. COP28, United Nations, European Union, African Union, the Organization of African States. In yellow, you can see what we can control, what we can do as a group, as a community, as a congregation, as a network of networks which cooperate with this issue. When we talk about spheres of interest, we should we should understand what are our duties as church, as humankind, the importance of creating networks and alliances to have an impact in the world. And when we engage in conversations relating to the cry of the pure, to the cry of communities, to the cry of the creation, we shall try and probe into a few roles. There is a prophetic role, the sacred role, as Moema said, the announce. It is about the gospel. We know that this is crucial. The social teaching of the church helps us understand and act to face poverty, exclusion, and injustice. It is also about our ethical values rooted in faith, but churches have also an important role as for the pragmatic level, the profane, the denounce, the importance of stressing the voices of those who suffer, the voices of the creation. We shall stress the role of the international standards, the IHRL, the IHL, and in that sense, we know that we work in many different levels at the same time. with an accompaniment in broader scenarios on a global and national level, but also at the grassroots. I would like to mention that we have an important difference between the strategies. There are lobbyings, there is the level of alliances, of internal preparation, but we know that it is very important to engage in conversations with those who take decisions on the global scenario. But to do that, we shall be prepared. We shall create strategies that we can leverage to strengthen our relationships as human beings, to promote a different reality. This relates to plans, to sustainable plans, to campaigns that we can leverage to enhance life on the planet. Then the bullet point on sensibilization, awareness, education, we are talking about an action which is joint. How can we engage in conversations with the Pacific, with the Pacific Islands from Colombia? How can we talk with different communities? It is not easy, but everything is based on a principle of subsidiarity. And then there is the bullet point of mobilization. It is important to recall that in some situations, we shouldn't move and we should take advantage of different mechanisms. Or in other scenarios, we shall move around, we shall talk to those who are in charge of taking decisions on a global scale. And it is important to stress that to have an impact, we shall have proofs. So, as Ramon said, we need to study the grassroots to understand in what way we shall engage in conversations and have talks to change the world. And here we can see the role of communication and social networks in Africa, in Asia. We know that TikTok and WhatsApp were crucial to pave the way ahead. We know that sometimes we can leverage social media and the digital sphere for the bad, but it is important to stress that there is also a good use that we can promote of those tools. So there are three key subjects that I would like to stress: the importance of a broad, sustainable, and democratic transition. When we talk about a broad transition, it is important to recall dignity and care in all forms of life. When we talk about the promotion of a change of models of consumption in Laudato Si', we are actually referring to a global change, a change of ourselves, of our being as well. And the economy of France is crucial in this sense. We shall have a fair distribution of richness on a global scale with solidarity at all levels. When we talk about a political change, we are talking about human rights and democracy for all citizens. It is important to promote change and take care of what we are suggesting. As I said, it is important also to refer to the culture of peace, the culture of our communication, which is not violent. Pope Francis gave us very brave examples in this sense. And of course, there are changes in our integral vision. We shall take into account the environmental and spiritual levels. With our network, we created a path of learning on eco-spirituality. It is important to share it. Very soon I will do it in a different context. And then it is important to stress the idea of sustainable. It is important to recognize the natural and the natural limitations and the limitations limitations that we have as a planet. There is no better privilege for a democracy to have a society which is fair. We shall be active, we shall be vibrant as a society. Sometimes it is not easy in the global south, but we are trying to pave the way ahead and we want to promote strategies for life and for dignity. And we want to be democratic in this transition. We know that power in the past excluded some voices, and now we can see the picture of Yasmi, a lovely experience in Ecuador. It is important to protect our ecosystem, in particular in the peripheries of the world. And how can we guarantee that active voice, that binding voice in the world? I'm very sorry, Marta, but your microphone is off. Marta, I am very sorry, but your microphone is not working anymore. I am very sorry.
Ahora sí.
Now it works. Thank you. So you were referring to Yasuni. So it is not only about the consultations for indigenous people. It is important to create a conversation in which we engage with all populations. We shall have a democratic voice, a voice of nature. We shall listen to the rivers, to the mountains, to the trees, and in the Andes, we are trying to do it. We are trying to navigate this path for future generations. Very well. In our reflection, it is important to stress a perspective of action. We shall act from the territories in the global north and in the global south. In the global north, there are different southern spheres of exclusion, and acting should start from the strength of the territories, the projects of life of the territories, that vision on the longer term related to our past and our future, with a true cosmovision to change the paradigms of our reality, our right to say no, to take care of our identity, to take care of our geography and belonging. And then the idea of resilience and resistance. It is not only about taking care. It is not only about the culture of care. It is more. It is about resilience and resistance, and we shall strengthen our community, starting from our skills, starting from dialogue and negotiation, with an active process of non-violence as a form of living and as a form of transforming society. We shall promote a social transformation, and we shall have an inclusive vision of gender with an intergenerational conversation to leverage the wisdom of our ancestors and put that wisdom in touch with the wisdom of the future, with the wisdom of the new generations. It is important to use symbols and to celebrate the strength of our communities. And here I have another bullet on the populations of the Andes in South America. There is good living, good eating, good living, or living, eating, sleeping in harmony, breathing in harmony, drinking in harmony. It is important to stress that we need good and healthy relationships in our humankind. We shall engage in conversations and we shouldn't lose heart. There are measures to self-protect populations, starting afresh from Christ. There are different systems, different best practices to live, eat, sleep, breathe, and drink in the proper way to protect our system from the contamination. And we should have a watchful scrutiny of our ecosystems. And it is important for us to think about what we did as JPIC in New York in March, been navigating the issue of human rights, the importance of water as a subject of right, and then the idea of Africa. Of the African Ubuntu, the collective thinking that can help us pave the way ahead that can drive us. In a nutshell, it is important to stress that we can be sowers of change beyond the SDGs. We as a church, we can be those who promote change. And I am amazed at how humble we are as church. We try to cooperate with other actors of the civil society to have a concrete impact in the world and set the stage for the future. What does it mean to live with dignity? What does life with dignity mean? How to care for life in this energy transition? Marie Denise and my colleagues stressed the importance of the interpretation of the seven actors of change in Laudato Si from an inspiration of an evangelic nonviolence. Every actor, every stakeholder shall engage in conversations. It is important to try and read this document. I think we have it in Spanish, French, and English, not in Italian. And as for acting, we are called by Laudate Deum and by nature to promote a different paradigm of this prophetic service with a pragmatic way of acting. First of all, it is important to decolonize our way of interpreting the energy and the production in the world. A few months ago, I was in Strasbourg, in Austria, and there was a great man, Luigi Betazzi, who is part of the movement Pax Christi. We were going to church with a taxi, and the taxi driver was quite worried about this transition. He said that the old cars were going to be sent to Africa. This is quite colonialist. We know that we are talking about lives. We are talking about our planet, and we shall act as a planet. We shall take care of life in every part of the world in an ethical, spiritual way, and we shall regenerate the planet, life, and dignity, starting from the territories, respecting the legacies, promoting dialogue and wisdom, comprehension. We shall welcome populations and we shall enhance violence and the lack of violence in the world. We know that in many cases it is not easy in the global north. They do not want to listen to the cry of the pure, but we shall proceed ahead. In Guatemala, we have been working with indigenous populations, with a democratic voting we promoted the role of these populations. And now we know that in Guatemala, the government is corrupted. They're not listening to the cry of the poor, but we will keep trying to enhance and improve our future. Laudato Deum is very important. Article 39, 38 stresses the importance of strengthening the global multilateralism with a downward trend starting from the incidency and the power at the grassroots and at the national level. There are different levels that we can engage, and as corporations, as civil society, as individuals, we shall try to work and journey together, hand in hand. We shall try to promote transitions that are applied in national and global political reforms to favor social justice, equality, equity, and sustainability in different territories. We shall build peace, populations that resist, that defend life in the planet, that defend nature, that defend human life. We shall promote social justice and the environmental care. We've been working in different countries. These are a few pictures from Indonesia, and cutting to the chase. Thank you, Indonesia, for what you built. Thank you for your hope. Thank you because as a community of faith, we are journeying together. We are setting the stage for the future, and we are enhancing our structures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha, for your sharing. And you carried forward what Moina left, and working together, holding each other's hands and working together. So you stressed more on networking and how we can network together. And we as religious, what are our duties that we need to keep in mind? We need to create networks. We are not alone. In order to reach our destiny, our goal, we need to create network and support the voices of those people who are suffering. That is what we need to stand by them. We need to help them. We need to bring their voices heard to the forefront. And he also stressed on the importance to have conversation with decision makers, which is very important. And in the process, we also need to use the non-violent communication. So that is very important. And you said that we need to start from our communities, this process of networking and collaborating. So you gave us hope that not to lose heart. We can be agents of change to give everyone a life with dignity. And we have a beautiful world to live in, and together we shall achieve our goal. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your thoughts. And now over to Catalina for coordinating the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, the three of you. So right now we open the space for the people to write their questions. We have already one question, but also to help the translators, just we will wait for 1 minute. And maybe we can go for each of you if there are any questions or comments. So please feel free to write in the chat box any question or comment that you may have. So you have 1 minute. Thank you. If you want to write in any language, you feel free to do it. Si tienen preguntas en español, en inglés, francés,
Feel
italiano.
free to ask questions in English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese.
Si vous avez des questions, vous pouvez écrire à la chat. So let's go with the first question that it was for Ramon. You already answered, but I think it's important maybe that the others can hear. So the question is, companies from Chile, Europe, North America, China are involved in extraction in Chile. Does your organization apply different advocacy strategies depending on the origin of the companies?
Yeah. Actually, should I speak in English, maybe? Or
If you prefer in Spanish or in English as you want.
Oh, yeah, maybe because the question is in English and I answered already.
Great.
So yes, we have allies in different countries and regions. I think that it's very important actually to build these networks with organizations that are situated in these other countries. For example, we've been part of campaigns for the Critical Raw Materials Act in Europe with some other organizations. We've been invited to speak with representatives and politicians about critical minerals discussions and regulations in North America, for example. Sometimes it's more about activism, for example, with organizations in Canada. We participated in the counter conference for, I don't know if you are aware of PDAC, the Prospectors and Developers Associations Convention that happens every year. It's probably one of the biggest gatherings of extractivist corporations in the world. Also with academics. So personally, I mix academic and advocacy work, but I think that this is essential. Sometimes it's very hard in countries like China, for example, but at some point I was part, I remember, of an action. It was a big letter. It was addressed to the Investment Bank of China. So there was this organization that today is called Latinoamérica Sustentable. Is in Ecuador, I think. Yeah, it's in Ecuador. And so they gathered a lot of information in cases, so they could present this to avoid actually some projects to get funds from this investment bank. But it's not very easy. And I think that currently we have this little conversation that is happening right now about green economy itself. So today, many organizations in the world are questioning themselves about green economy. Some are against it. Some understand green economy as a manifestation of capitalism itself, with all what comes along with it: colonization, violence, destruction of nature, accumulation. I think that Moema spoke about it, right? The desire of accumulation. Some others think that green economy is necessary, and that is creating new discussions. Not everyone is on the same position, and this is a very important discussion that we need to have actually. So yeah, I think those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Ramon. Thank you so much. And let's go to Noema and Marta. Probably I will ask this question for the both of you, because we have seen that here there are many people working already in several organizations. But what happens when an individual feels that it's alone in a place? What he or she can do in that place to get to know other realities and also to make a concrete action also. I'm thinking especially about people that are, I don't know, in the global north, that maybe here in this webinar, they said, okay, it's interesting, but from my side, what I can do. So.
Gracias. Continúo en
Thank you. I will continue in Spanish. Solidarity is tenderness of populations when there is a voice that is connected with other voices. We can have many global voices that can support what we do as a community in the accompaniment of other communities. It is important to echo campaigns and to contribute in different ways. It is not only about finances. Of course, financial support is always welcome, but it is also about raising awareness in our communities. This is quite common in the global north. We would like to stress that this action of incidences shall be global. It is very different if a Canadian talks about a topic relating to the global south. And we saw a lot of examples in this sense in our organizations. We know that every voice matters and we are global. It is important to stress that we shall create networks. It is important to remember that these communities exist and we can use Christmas as an opportunity. So with the Christmas cards, we can promote our initiatives. We can send Christmas cards remembering to people that we are working and navigating this path. Our world is full of conflicts and wars. There is a shortage of water and we should also recall and stress the cost of the war industry, the contamination of war industry. These are topics that we should address and we should engage in conversations throughout the world to raise awareness. Thank you very much, Marta. Moema? I will ask you a different question because I think it is connected to what you were saying. How can we have an impact in the Catholic Church when there are interests among our bishops that have funds from companies and are silent? In Laudate Deum, in number 55 and 59, opens the door to the fact that we should transition away from fossil fuels, but we do not have an alternative. And we should remember that we have the transition minerals that we can leverage in Peru. We know that they have quite clear ideas in this sense. So I will leave the floor to you. First of all, thank you very much for your reflection. I think that we are pondering a lot, and this is a lot of food for thought. While we were talking, I thought about the apocalypses of John. When they are together, they connect people. Children of the pure, they are marked with a sign, and we know that this is a mark of inclusion. Today, it is very complicated. If you want to exit, if you want to step out from the capitalism, from the capitalist system, it's so complicated. If I want to say I do not want to be part of this system, it is very complicated. What you eat, your clothes, what you listen to, what you see. We are part of this logic. We are part of this system. We are part of this logic of death in which capitalism is part of our soul, it is part of our human relationships and of our desires. Of course, this relates also to congregations, to bishops, and a second very important bullet point I'd like to stress is that capitalism is always entrenched with truth and false bullet points. We note that the problem is that there are false truths that we do not understand clearly. This is the true challenge. Juan said it quite clearly. Companies have specific interests, and these interests are not clear sometimes. There is a crying need in this sense to try and grow and go the extra mile to understand what is the leaven of the world. It is important to understand what are the consequences of contamination. And in this sense, it is important to remember that we shall be always grounded on the Bible and we envision a different future. In many cases, these companies are so broad, are so powerful, which is very hard for us to contribute to a change. We as a church, we should engage in conversations with different disciples at the level of awareness. We are used, for example, in Brazil, to the fact that we live in a society in which things are not fair, but that's not right. I would like to raise a very important point in this sense. We shall remember that if we are used to something, this doesn't mean that there are no different alternatives. Slowly but surely, we can sow seeds of change and we shall open the door to apocalypse. There are alternatives. Maybe I do not see alternatives today, but I shall bear in mind that there are, and I should try and find alternatives in my area, in my society. Maybe sometimes I cannot do things, but I can pray. I can gather energy in prayer to promote change. I know sometimes we feel utterly sad, but we shall unveil plans for the future with our faith, the strength and charismatic vitality of the maternal gaze of Mary shouldn't be forgotten. And it is very important, as Marta said, it is important to engage in conversations with just a few. Maybe at first we will be just a few, but then things will spread, and we know that this is important to take the big leap, and we shall echo what we heard, what we hear, and roll out new projects. We shall cast a light on the world, and we shall be aware that we will journey with different paces. We shouldn't say, well, my bishop is better than yours, or my bishop is worse than yours. It is important to understand that there are good examples that are already bearing fruit. We know amazing bishops that feel alone in their areas. We should try and address those gaps we alluded to today to promote a different future. I think that what we are doing today is crucial. We should keep up the good work. We should create networks in our communities. We should pay attention because this is our Noe art. We are truly doing something. Maranatha, we will be prepared to act when it is needed. I would like to say that a way in which we can fight against the culture of prosperity in many religious groups is the investigation and the promotion of the disinvestment. Many of our bishops believe in the system. They invest in banks that support mining. It is important to create campaigns of awareness, to advocate, to try and change the world. As Pax Christi, we managed to engage in conversation with congregations to change this scenario. And the second point that I would like to raise, we have a task with our pastors. I know that sometimes we say we do not have pastors, we do not have shepherds because we are not sheep. But it is important to stress that we as a church, we shall be rooted in service and we shall be promoting our faith. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry, but our time is up.
Thank you so much again for everything to the three speakers. Father Roy, up to you.
Okay. Thank you so much for your wonderful sharing. A few concluding remarks I would like to make at the end of this webinar. The energy transition is a global effort to shift away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy sources. This transition is necessary to address the climate crisis, but it is not without any consequences. It has got its own consequences. So one of the most significant of this is the rising mining activities associated with the renewable energy components. The extraction of minerals for solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries is causing some significant social and environmental impacts. The process of extracting lithium consumes significant amounts of water and energy. To extract 1 ton of lithium requires about 500,000 liters of water and can result in the poisoning of reservoirs and related health problems. So lithium mining can pollute the air, the water with chemicals and heavy metals. In addition, mining lithium can disrupt wildlife habitats and cause soil erosion, leading to long-term ecological damage and climate change. The environmental impacts of mining for renewable energy components are wide-ranging and often severe. For example, the mining of cobalt, a key component of lithium-ion batteries, has been linked to human rights abuses and environmental degradation in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Similarly, the mining of rare earth elements for wind turbines has been linked to water pollution and land degradation in China. Investment in clean energy supply is projected to rise by 9% in 2023, and clean energy will account for nearly 90% of all investment in electricity generation. So you can see the amount of impact that is going to take place in the coming years. In addition to the direct impacts of mining, renewable energy components also have indirect impact on environment. For example, the production of solar panels and wind turbines require large amount of energy, which often comes from fossil fuels. Adding to that, there is a exploitation of workers, displacement of local communities, the indigenous people, and environmental destruction, etc., are part of the impacts related to mining for renewable energy components. Climate justice involves not only transitioning to cleaner energy sources, but also addressing the social and environmental injustice associated with the production and consumption of renewable technologies. Pope Francis says, in fact, he warns, the world we are living in is collapsing, nearing the breaking point. So through Laudato Deum, he has clearly told us that the importance or the critical moment that we all of us are in. So we do not have a clear-cut solution as of now, but together we need to find a way out. We need to take a holistic approach to the climate crisis. Only then we can ensure that the benefits of renewable energy outweigh the costs. As all the speakers mentioned, that together we shall achieve our goal. Together we shall work towards making our planet a wonderful place to live in. So thanks a lot for being with us. Thanks to all the speakers for the wonderful presentation. And thanks to all participants who have participated in this webinar from all over the world. And special thanks to all the translators for patiently translating all through without much break. And also all the technicians associated with us, Catalina, thanks to Mamalifar, and all of you. Thanks a million. And this webinar is not the end of this webinar series. We will have a series of webinars in the coming time too. So continue to be associated with us, and we shall reflect together to find out a better solution to live in this world. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a million. And have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, especially also to Rodrigo. Thank you, everyone. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Continuamos. We continue.
Gracias.
Bye. Thank you,
You can
Catalina.
unmute yourself, everyone, if you want. Pueden abrir. Gracias a todos.
Gracias.
Gracias. Gracias, Marta.
Raymond.
Gracias.
Gracias. Seguimos en la
Obrigada.
We met in Indonesia, you remember?
Obrigada.
Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you.
Buona
Thank you.
serata, buon Natale.
Buona serata, buon Natale. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Grazie.
Thank you, everyone. Merry